Anyway, I was doing pretty much nothing.
Right.
Until out of the blue, the Language Creation Society was contacted by HBO to create a language for Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Or what would become Game of Thrones.
Right.
And so then what happened was the Language Creation Society put together a competition. And, I had to decide if I was going to help run it or apply. And I decided I was going to apply. So I was one of 40 or so conlangers that applied.
Okay.
It was announced to language creators everywhere. If you were connected to any of the online communities at that time.
You knew about it.
Yeah.
So you submit to this contest. How much time did you have?
About a month and a half.
Okay. And what differentiated you from everybody else, do you think? What do you think won it for you?
Well, there was no upper limit on the amount of material that we could provide.
Oh, so you just made a shit ton.
That's right. I was like, somebody's got to be that asshole. I'm going to be that asshole. Month and a half, I created over 300 pages of content.
Wow. And what were you providing? Just like short stories or stuff?
The entire
dialogue?
No, the entire dictionary and grammar of the language.
Wow.
That was one part of it. Also, translating everything that we were supposed to translate for the pilot. I mean, that was the job.
Right.
So, in other words, applying for the job was doing the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to sound very familiarly Hollywood, but and then just supplemental material. I just and cultural notes, like everything, anything I could think of.
That's so great.
And like I said, I was unemployed at this time. I spent every waking second.
That's great.
Working on that. And so I mean, it was great in one sense, but it was terrible in another. It was not. It's not the way you want to apply for a job.
Well. Yeah.
And it's like
that's entertainment though in general. I feel like before you become a working actor, you have to put in so many fucking auditions, which is so much fucking time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the pay was just scandalous.
Right.
Scandalous. But that's what it was. Later on.
So how quickly after you submitted did they announce that you won?
Oh, it was like 2.5 weeks. Everybody, it was a nightmare for everybody. Yeah.
Well, they had 300 pages of this made-up language to get through that you submitted.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably didn't read it, but that was it was part of the goal.
Of course not. They couldn't read it. You made it up.
Yeah, it was part of the goal, and it was also very linguistically dense. I wanted to basically have them look at it and say, "Whoa, this guy did a lot of work and knows his stuff."
That's
like
smart.
I don't even know what that word means, and then also give them something really, really, really short and simple and say, hey, this is how this kind of works.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
So when they tell you that they're bringing you on, do they say, hey, you're our guy, you're going to work on it with us for every episode? Did you know that going in, or did you think it was just going to be like a 1 or 2 episode thing at the beginning and then they were going to forget about you?
Oh, no, I assumed that I was going to be doing all the Dothraki translation for the first season, if it came to be.
Right.
This was, again, just for the pilot.
Right.
They needed to get a green light at that point. But I was worried that what they would try to do is have somebody learn the language and use my documentation and then kind of write me out by season 2.
Right.
It turns out I didn't need to be concerned about that, but that was one of the reasons I made my documentation accurate, but very linguistically dense.
Right.
So that it would
It's
really
intimidating.
take, a linguist to understand it. And then I also made the grammar intentionally ambiguous in certain ways, so that even if you translate something correctly into Dothraki, I could still say it was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't necessary, but that's what I did back then.
So for the filming of the pilot, were you on set during that at all?
No, I've never been to the set.
Never been on set.
Yeah. I am like, all this stuff, it's partly how I got into it. There's
I can't tell if you're happy or angry about this.
Oh, I'm furious. Okay. But it's like there was never any rules for how to work with a language creator.
Yeah.
Most every production I've worked on, it's the first time they've ever worked with anybody like me, and so it's always
like I
a
said
little
at
bit
the
different.
beginning, you told me there's not a guild for this. It's not like every show has this.
Yeah.
It's a special case by case.
So most of the time, it's usually the first time they've ever worked with somebody like me, and so part of that is the role just gets defined as it goes along,
which is exciting.
Yeah, part of it I can set the tone for, and honestly, if I were a different person, if I were a bit more confident and a bit more dickish, I think things would probably be better for me. But I also have to bear in mind that I'm kind of the first person coming out of the tradition of language creators, people that just did it for fun. And so I'm representing them. Yeah. And so I want to be sure that I do everything well. And that if that means taking less pay, fine. I mean, it's going to be good in some ways and not good in others, but at least the work is going to be done. and people will come away with a positive reaction of having worked with a language creator.
Right.
You know?
Well, let me ask you this: have you since got an agent? Do you have an agent or anything? Anybody representing you?
No, I've talked to agents here and there, and they don't know what to do with me.
Really?
Yeah. So I do all my own contracts and stuff for this.
Wow.
And I've gotten pretty adept at it for that.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I've got to be.
I've got a literary agent.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Because when I actually got a book deal, I looked at this book contract and I'm like, oh my God. I have never seen
made up
anything like
language
this
to you.
in my entire life. I was like, I can't do this. Yeah. So I have her for that, and that's great. But yeah, I still do all my own stuff for Hollywood.
Wow, that's so fascinating to me. You'd think that somebody at, I don't know, one of the big agencies would be
Yeah. Nope.
like, look at this swath of people that are working on these huge shows and want to take them under their wing.
No, they don't care. It was like, I don't get it. I don't know if I can properly represent this, so I'm just not going to do it. But yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting though. Like looking at contracts, it's like, you know, by the sixth or seventh one, they would say like, "Oh, well, this is standard." It's like, no, it's not.
No, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
you liar.
Did you ever get to meet George R. Martin?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
did he give you feedback on what you did?
He's generally very pleased with what I've done.
Generally,
yeah. I mean, well, you know, like he's not going to spend a lot of time with it because, you know, he's really busy. But I've also discovered that he, if there is a talent to language, period, I think he has it. First of all, like he has like the various documentation I have, and unlike the folks on the show, he can just use it.
Right.
I remember I asked him about this once. Like he asked me for some translations I gave him, and he said, I also came up with these other translations. And it's like, I kind of think in the back of my head, oh no. But then I look at them, and it's like, oh yeah, those are all exactly 100% correct. I'm like, wow. And I comment to him, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And he said to me, well, your documentation is very clear. I just read what you wrote and followed those rules.
That's amazing.
I was like, you would be surprised. You'd be shocked at how hard that is for non-linguistics, you know, oriented people.
That's incredible.
So yeah, he's got a gift. And if he wanted to just totally throw off writing and become a language creator, I bet he could be better than Tolkien. But
that's incredible.
There'd probably be a lot of fans that'd be pretty upset with him for doing that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.